USCHO.com.
Welcome to USCHO Edge for Friday, February 23rd, 2024. This podcast is sponsored by the NCAA Men's Division I Frozen Four, April 11th and 13th at XL Energy Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. Visit ncaa.com/mfrozen4 to get your tickets today. And it is Hockey Week, and through February 25th, you can celebrate Hockey Week with savings on NCAA Men's Frozen Four fan experience packages and regional tickets. Use code Hockey Week. I'm Ed Trefzger alongside Jim Connelly and Dan Rubin. We're going to take another look at hockey futures, bets to see who is going to win the national championship, plus a key game in the East and one in the West in our second segment. But right now, things are starting to gel a little bit for the top teams. And before we dive in, why don't you just give a little explanation, Jim, what we mean by futures? I gave the shorthand, but maybe a little bit more explanation.
Yeah, for many different sports, futures can mean many different things. But in college hockey specifically, sports books will have a futures bet. You place a bet, and for each $100 bet, there is a line on how much you would win if that team wins the national championship. You make that bet today, you lock in that rate, and if that team wins the national championship, you get paid out. So I'm going to give you a for instance, St. Cloud State. I'm just pick them randomly. They are plus 2,500. So if you made a $100 bet today on St. Cloud State, they were going to win the national championship, and they indeed did win the national championship, you would win your $100 back plus 2,500. So that is what the plus 2,500 stands for. But these are futures bets. You're tying up your money usually. If you're betting legally, you're making the bet and it's being held until the day of the last day of the season. And your bet is that the team you pick will win the national championship. In other sports, you can win, pick that they would win their conference championship. You could pick that they would get to a Frozen Four, something like that. College hockey, they simplify it. There's one bet, and it's can that team win the national championship?
Last time we looked at this was mid-December, right at the semester break, and there's been some movement. And one of the big moves has been with Boston College. Back then, it was a plus 800 bet. Right now, plus 500. Probably the most dangerous forward line in college hockey and the unanimous number one in this week's USCHO.com Men's Division I ice hockey poll. What's this telling us about BC? Obviously, they're getting to be the odds-on favorite right now.
And it's telling us we should have, if you wanted to bet them, you should have bet them a while ago. You're not going to get the same price. If you bet this in December, you're talking about winning $800 as opposed to $500 on a $100 bet. So you've lost value on Boston College. And I'm going to say this: any team that's had a little bit of success, even just a modicum of success throughout this season, you've probably lost some value on them. The teams that have gone the other way, maybe you've gained value, but you're also getting closer toward the end of the season and learning that these teams don't have a lot of hope to win a national championship or are real long shots. They'd have to win their conference tournament just to get into the field. Those are the types of teams where the odds have gone the other direction. They've gotten longer. So a Boston College team, no surprise. As you said, they are the unanimous number one this week in the USCHO poll. They're at the top of the pairwise. They're at the top of pretty much everybody's mind right now with one of the best freshman lines in hockey. So no surprise, the Eagles are the odds-on favorite at plus 500 right now.
Looking at Boston University, they were plus 650 in the December futures. They've moved to plus 600. They also, you could almost parallel the story with BU and BC have kind of been taking turns on who is going to be number one in a given week.
Right. The BU's heading in the right direction. And most of the teams that we're looking at the top have moved significantly up. And when I say up, their number is lower. You're not getting, they're closer to the top. You're not getting the same value as you once did. I think that, almost anybody within the top 10, if you don't have a value, in my opinion, of over 1,000, so plus 1,000 or better, you're really not making a bet. You're not making a bet of value. These are bets that you're tying up money. You're making a long shot expectation. Right now, we don't even know the 16 teams in the field. The only one we know is Boston College. Everybody else is technically still trying to clinch their spot. So you make a bet now. It's just like, if you were to bet on the NBA or the NHL and you bet on a team that's in second place right now or third place. And next thing you know, they go on a bad run and they don't even make the playoffs. You've just thrown your bet away. So at this point, you need to look for a little bit more value. And this is one of those bets you don't make if you don't find the value. That's one of the things you got to keep in mind. If there's no value there to your bet, these are the types of bets you stay away. I think most people like to take these types of bets way back in October and November, maybe even into December, the last time we talked about them. Now we're getting into a kind of a precarious point where you probably have more data on all of the teams and you're really looking for the upset. You're looking for the Yale. You're looking for the Providence, the teams that maybe just squeak into the tournament. And those you might find some real good money on.
See, the funny thing, and while you were talking about Boston College, I was thinking like, I don't really have anything to debate or add here. But the one thing I was going to disagree with you until that last point of looking for the upsets or looking for the Yales and teams like that. The one thing I do kind of disagree with on the futures bet that comes in right about now and when we talk about finding value is at this point of the season, we're also starting to see teams that are undervalued because of their entire body of work, but yet are overvalued because of their entire body of work. And when you look at what teams are doing now to ride that rail into the, ride everything into the national tournament, I think that value starts to pop up almost more into the futures bets than would have existed back in December. I think at the beginning of the season, I think that's probably when a lot of people would want to bet it just because you're excited for the season. Like that's look, I don't love futures betting anyway because you're betting. It's something that gives you a rooting interest for the whole season, and they're not high value picks anyway. But at this point of the year, because you're starting to see teams crop up, you can get odds on a team that maybe you think is capable of going on that run. And look, you're never going to find a team like a Yale that is the last team into the tournament and then goes on a run. You can find those teams. Those teams are fewer and far between. But right now, if you're looking at teams and you're saying, okay, Maine at plus 1,400, Maine's been having problems lately. Do I like them at plus 1,400? Do I not like them? Because do I start to think they're starting to feel the pinch a bit? Do I really like Cornell at plus 3,500, knowing that Cornell may not even get into the tournament, but could very easily win ECAC's postseason and then go on a run into the national tournament. Based on how Cornell has played over the second half of the year, there is more value to them now than I think maybe existed when they probably had longer odds and were sitting in seventh place in ECAC. So that's where I kind of look at futures betting now. I don't look at it in December, but I like it now. I like it in October because it's October and everyone's happy to be a part of the season. But I think now is when you're starting to see teams right before the national tournament because the odds are going to reset when the national tournament starts.
Well, let's take a look at some teams in a couple of different categories. One that is a long shot that maybe still has some good numbers, and maybe some teams that have gone in the wrong direction, maybe, at least for their chances. Some teams that really stand out to me that maybe are a good value. How about Michigan State? They're in the top four right now in the pairwise. They're all but a lock to get in the tournament. They've gone from plus 1,500 to plus 1,100, but Michigan, which is on the verge of not making the tournament, also is at plus 1,100.
Those are some strange numbers to me. Straightforward. I would have actually valued Michigan State a little higher in terms of positioning. They should have been one of the top 3-4 teams. Instead, they are the seventh longest odd, tied with Michigan. And I don't see where the number of Michigan, again, these are reputational picks maybe, and there's a belief that maybe Michigan can go on a run here. I don't see the value in Michigan. I see a ton of value in Michigan State. But I guarantee that the bookmakers are also thinking, oh, Michigan State, when was the last time they were even in the tournament? Forget about won it. It's been a while. So you don't have anybody with experience on there. And I think that bookmakers really do love experience this time of year. That's what they're looking for when they're trying to make their picks. So, I see both of those two teams as at opposites for me. I don't see the value in Michigan right now at plus 1,100. I need them closer to plus 3,000.
Yeah, same. I need Michigan to have longer odds. I look at other teams like I'm trying to think who else is in that list. Like at plus, what is it? Plus 11. What was UMass? Was I think plus 3,000. Yes. I like UMass's odds at plus 3,000 because I think that they're going to get in. And when they get in, if you're looking at a futures bet right now, provided they get in and they get in that 12 spot, they're going to play at home. And I think that's going to mess up I think the way UMass gets in is one of those Providence as a 4 seed that messes up the entire bracket for somebody and gives them an opportunity to go on that run that I was talking about. I think that you're going to get a lot of value out of UMass in general, because if UMass makes the tournament, they have to play at home in Springfield, which Providence, I know, was not the host site when they played at the Dunkin' Donuts Center that year against, I think it was 13. They played against, not 13.
Twice.
It was
twice. They did it against Minnesota State. That took it in. Miami was the other.
Yeah, Minnesota State was the one that I was really thinking of, which was, Providence or UMass. Like I said, you're going to get value out of them because they're going to be able to play at home and play close. They'll be able to pack the building. We know UMass fans are going to show up, and we know that that's going to be a draw that's going to help them in a regional against a team that's going to be sent there that maybe doesn't really want to get sent east when they couldn't have been.
How about Colorado College? Now in December, they were a plus 10,000, a real long shot to make it. Still a plus 4,000, which is pretty high. But CC right now is sitting in the top 4 in the NCHC. So that means home ice. They are inside the pairwise bubble. That seems to me like an excellent value. They're even still at 4,000.
Yeah, maybe the best value on this list. Again, it's the lack of experience factor that's probably pumping this number. I mean, they're basically getting, Cornell, which right now wouldn't even make the tournament, is getting better numbers than Colorado College. And, Northeastern, which would have to win Hockey East, is pretty much almost the same number as Colorado College. Notre Dame would have to win the Big Ten. They're all plus 5,000. And here you have Colorado College plus 4,000. The true value, I think here lies in a team like a Colorado College. At least that they're probably going to make the tournament unless they collapse here. I think there was 75% as of Monday to make the tournament. That's pretty good odds at this point in the season. So I like CC. Do I think that they're going to go on a run and win it? No, but these bets are about finding value and finding the right value. And maybe it's a $20 bet that, okay, it won't win you 4,000, but it'll win you, can't do my math that quick, 800, on a $20 bet. That's not bad. That's some value right there. You don't have to lay a lot of money and you can make, still a good chunk of change.
And consider this about CC. Consider that they are tied in the pairwise with Providence and St. Cloud, and they're a hair behind Western Michigan. Now, when you break all that down and you look at those comparable bets, when you look at some of the teams I just said, Providence plus 2,500, Western Michigan plus 2,200, St. Cloud plus 2,500, you're virtually double that on a Colorado College team that statistically, according to the pairwise takes the emotion out of it, which is both good and bad, and goes via data points and data sets. So when you look at Colorado College at plus 4,000, it's against teams that on odds that might not make the tournament or are in a position where they won't make the tournament. Teams like UNH, who have fallen down to 17, and teams like Northeastern or even Duluth, who's a little bit longer odds than CC. But that particular team, when you look and you start to compare the teams, that it's like buying a house. You look at a house, you look at comparables, and you say, like, all right, why am I going to? You want the best value on. You get 4 houses that are virtually the same stats, same square footage, same amount of bedrooms, same amount of toilets in the house, and you're going to spend, $50,000 more, $100,000 more. You're going to look at that and say there's no value there. So you have to make sure that when you're looking at it, if you can get that same house for $100,000 less, then yeah, I wouldn't mind dropping the 20. For Colorado College right now, dropping the $20 down. If you couldn't tell, I've been doing my taxes this week.
Well, I want to hit on a couple of quick things before we look at a couple of games. First of all, there's some teams that have plummeted in their favor. Penn State went from plus 2,500 to plus 7,500. Omaha and Duluth went from plus 6,000 to plus 3,000. Went to 6,000 from plus 3,000 for Duluth and to 6,000 from 3,500 for Omaha. Those are teams that are dropping. Arizona State, LIU, and Alaska Fairbanks are still in there, yet they cannot make the tournament, which leads me to the next question. If you're looking at this list, don't you have to do a little homework? I mean, first of all, you've got to look at the pairwise and say, okay, these are teams that cannot get in as an at-large. What's the chance of them winning their conference tournament? If you don't think they're going to win their conference tournament and they're outside the bubble, there's no point in laying a bet on that at all, right?
If you don't, let's put this. I'm trying to get the right words for this because I don't want to undermine our audience. But if you are laying a bet on Arizona State today to win the national championship, stop gambling now. Immediately. You lack something in the gambling category. So that's just a little soapbox speech right there. But come on, if you follow anything, you realize that Arizona State cannot make the tournament. It's mathematically pretty much impossible. I think the odds were down to under 2% this week. That's too far. There's no way that they're getting there. And if you lay any bet on LIU. Seriously, send me your money. I'll find a way to bet it on a cricket match and I'll make you more, or I'll at least lose you less. Those are just awful bets. And same thing with any of these teams that they're not going to win their conference championship. Especially in leagues where it's not single elimination, you have to go through best of 3 series. The odds of coming out of 10th place in the ECAC and winning the ECAC championship are so slim. And then even if you do, you think you're going to put together 4 more wins and win a national championship. This isn't basketball. This isn't, UConn of years back where they had to win 5 in the Big East tournament and then won 6 in the national tournament, finish on an 11-game run. That was a darn good team. The teams that are in 10th place right now in these leagues they're just not going to make it. It's too small of a sport, hockey.
Yeah, you make a point in here that I think is one of those that I hope people, if they're gambling and laying money down, first of all, when we say we say we don't want to undermine our audience, you're absolutely right, which is that we don't want to look at hockey and be like, if you're a casual gambler who's decided to bet on college hockey, and you don't understand the getup of college hockey, you shouldn't be gambling, and you shouldn't be gambling on things that you don't know. There's a reason why people don't gamble on certain sports when they don't understand the sport. Like Jimmy, I know you mentioned cricket. I don't understand cricket at all. I wouldn't know how to bet it. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, take that team. Look at how much money you could make on team X and they've won. No, we're not doing that. So what I would say is that the longer odds, if you start reading into things and if you start looking into things, there is a sweet spot that exists in the middle of some of these leagues, but you also have to remember that this is not about winning a conference championship. We have seen plenty of teams come out of a 7 seed and win a conference championship, but then they become the 16 seed and they have to go play a team that has lost 5 games of the whole year. You're asking them to do it. In hockey, the drop from the top 10 down to the next group is usually a lot. And that doesn't mean that long shots can't win, but you're going to look at the teams that you think are going to win are going to be those top 7 or 8 teams, there's a reason why in hockey. And nobody is Fresno State baseball, who's the last team into the tournament and goes on a run and wins it all. That's just not. That is not. That was such. That is the only thing I can come up with as being the equivalent of a dead last seed winning a big time tournament. Like, even you mentioned, you said Big East, UConn was a darn good team. I'm pretty sure Fresno State baseball was the only team that was. You looked at them and you're like, wait, how'd they win it? That doesn't happen. That's not happening in hockey.
So maybe you've answered my last question, which is, do you, if you want to, as Jim calls it, pizza money, you want to put pizza money on somebody with long odds, say like a Bemidji or a Bowling Green or Minnesota State or Michigan Tech out of the CCHA, or a Holy Cross or RIT, or maybe Colgate or Clarkson out of the ECAC. Is that worth throwing $20 on if you're not worried about losing the $20 and might make a little bit from it? Is that worth it for fun?
I mean, anything's worth it for the fun of laying 20 down on the pizza money bets. If you want to, if you don't care about losing $20, then yeah, I would. But if you're serious about what you want to do in a futures bet, then you wouldn't. But that said, futures betting on the whole, we're starting to get serious about it at this point of the season. Like I said, for me, this is the sweet spot of the season where you're going to get some of your best odds on teams that are likely to make the national tournament. But I also think in terms of winning the national championship, if you're going to find odds on a particular team to go on that run and you really want to take them, then sure, by all means. There's no reason why you can't look at Colgate and say, I think they can, the way they play, the way this happens, the way that happens, this team should have been a lot better. They had a bad year. Now's the time. They're going to turn it on. Then yeah, go for it. I don't particularly see a problem with that. Maybe, like I said, you're not going to win the money, but why not?
All right. With that, we're going to take a break and look at 2 games, one in the East and one in the West. This podcast is sponsored by the NCAA Men's Division I Frozen Four, April 11th and 13th at XL Energy Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's hockey week, and there are savings on NCAA Men's Frozen Four fan experience packages and regional tickets.
Where are my hockey fans at? Present! Welcome to Fandom 101. It's NCAA Ice Hockey Championship time, when the hottest teams in the country face off under one roof. Be there to see your squad hoist the ultimate trophy overhead. The NCAA Men's Frozen Four, April 11th and 13th in St. Paul, Minnesota. Attendance is encouraged. Passion is mandatory. Buy your seats today at ncaa.com/mfrozen4. Class dismissed.
We're back with USCHO Edge. We're going to look at 2 games, one in the West and one in the East. Let's start out West. This has huge implications in the NCHC, as both Western Michigan and St. Cloud State would be on the road for the quarterfinal round. Western on the road is plus 105. St. Cloud State at home is minus 135. The over-under on this one is 6.
Well, I like the over here. I'm going to start with that one. That's kind of the number one. I like this game going over 6. My issue here, we're talking the Friday night game. Let's not forget. I think that it feels like such a big series for both teams. I like the value you're getting on St. Cloud here at home. I like a home team that's priced low like that. So I'd have to go with St. Cloud at home just because of the value. I'm not going to try to take too much away from Western. They're a good team. They've played well, but I just look at this and think maybe you get some value out of St. Cloud.
Yeah, I think there's value on St. Cloud, and but my one kind of argument against it is that they are still the home favorite against a team that by and large has produced better results and has been better on the road while facing a team that has not been particularly great at home. That's my kind of caveat that goes in there. I do think the over-under is probably a little bit juicier here to go over with it, but St. Cloud 6-5-3 at home, Western Michigan 8-3-1 on the road. It's a big series. I just don't love the fact if St. Cloud were a home underdog, I'd be saying take them. I don't love them even with the low odds on the favorite.
The other one is Northeastern at Maine. Northeastern's a plus 140, Maine's a minus 180. A 6-3 win with 3 goals during a major power play for Northeastern back on February 2nd. Maine has lost 3 games in a row, one of them at home and the last 2 on the road at the big rival New Hampshire. But Maine is also 9-1-2 at home. Over-under on this one is 6, and again, plus 140 for Northeastern, minus 180 for Maine.
Don't like the over-under here. I don't think this is going to be that high scoring of a game. It's not going to be a 6-3 game like it was down in Boston a few weeks ago. This is time for home cooking for Maine. They need it. This is the get right series. Northeastern's playing really well. I get it, but Northeastern had a stumble last Friday night against Lowell after winning the Bean Pod, and then didn't even play that well on Saturday night. Still came out with a 4-0 win that was really more like a 2-0 game. I think of Maine here. This is the absolute must get right game for them. I like them. I don't like the number though. This should be more closer to that. The line that we just had on Western Michigan and St. Cloud State. I wish the odds were better to take Maine. I wouldn't touch Northeastern here.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch. I might not touch the pick on this game, but specifically not touch Northeastern. Big the reason why I don't love Northeastern in this game is because Maine is so good and has been so good at home, in need of a get right game. But I also don't really want to touch Maine in this one because Northeastern didn't play the week between the Bean Pot. They had the game against Harvard, then they had the game against BU, and both those went to overtime. Both had the same type of winner, and they came out against Lowell and just straight up laid an egg in that game. They didn't play well. They didn't look good. I actually had a chance to watch that game. They just looked bad. They did not look like the Northeastern team that had just won the Bean Pot. Turn around on Saturday and win 4-0 at home. So I think Northeastern, if they hadn't had their hiccup, would be in a position to, like, I'd feel much better about Maine if they had found a way to win that game against Lowell on that Friday night game up at Songus. Since they didn't, I think they're going to be dialed in, which makes me not love Maine given what's happened with Maine recently. But at the same time, how do you pick against Maine in Orono? Like, that's been a house of horrors for everybody. No.
Even when Maine was struggling, that was a tough place to play. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that place is a house of horrors for teams to go into. And you know that with everything on the line, people are going to be banging on the ceiling there practically.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of USCHO Edge. This podcast is sponsored by the NCAA Men's Division I Frozen Four, April 11th and 13th at XL Energy Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. Visit ncaa.com/mfrozen4 to get your tickets today. And this week during Hockey Week, there are savings on NCAA Men's Frozen Four fan experience packages and regional tickets through February 25th. Use code HOCKEYWEEK. For Jim Connelly, for Dan Rubin, I'm Ed Trefzger, and this has been USCHO Edge.